Imagine this. Right now, in this exact moment, the world feels stuck. Phones get slightly thinner each year. Apps copy other apps. Cars drive themselves a little better. But we are still waiting in the same traffic. We are told the future is coming. Faster shipping, smarter assistants, greener energy. But deep down it often feels like more of the same, just shinier. Yet somewhere, in a quiet room or a noisy garage, someone is refusing to accept that. They're not tweaking yesterday's ideas. They're building something that didn't exist before, something so different it makes people stop scrolling and actually look up. Not because it's louder or cheaper or trendier, but because it solves a problem we didn't even know we had in a way we never imagined possible. That's the leap from 0 to 1. 0 to 1 isn't about working harder at what already exists. It's about creating the new thing that makes the old thing irrelevant. It's the difference between copying a restaurant menu and inventing a completely new kind of food. Between adding another ride-sharing app and redefining how people move through cities. Between improving search and building the first engine that truly understands what you mean. Most of us spend our lives going from 1 to n, making more, scaling up, optimizing what's already here. That path is crowded, familiar, and exhausting. The real breakthroughs, the ones that create wealth, meaning, and progress, happen when someone dares to go from 0 to 1. This book is about those moments. It's about why almost every great company started with a secret almost no one believed. Why competition usually destroys value while monopoly, the good kind, creates it. Why being the first mover often loses to being the last mover. Why the future isn't something that happens to us, it's something we build, one definite, stubborn, contrarian decision at a time. You don't need a fancy degree or a famous last name to do this. You need curiosity, courage, and the willingness to see what everyone else has decided isn't worth seeing. If you've ever felt that quiet itch, that sense that the world could be so much better if only someone would build the thing that's missing, this is for you. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Challenge of the Future. Let's talk about what the future really means. Most people think of the future as just more of the same things we have today, but stretched out over time. But the future isn't automatic. It's a time when the world looks different from how it looks right now. If nothing big changes in the next 100 years, the future feels far away. But if exciting new things happen soon, the future arrives much quicker. We can't know every detail, but we do know two important things. The future will be different, and it starts from where we are today. When I talk to people about jobs or ideas, I often ask a tricky question. What important truth do very few people agree with you on? It's not an easy one to answer. School teaches us things that everyone already accepts, so going against the crowd feels strange. It takes real courage to say something unpopular, even if it's smart. Most answers I hear are safe ones, like education needs fixing or our country is special. Those might be true, but lots of people already think that way. A strong answer usually flips something common on its head. Most believe this, but the real truth is the opposite. This question matters because good answers help us peek into what the future could look like. They show fresh ways of seeing the world today. Now, let's look at progress. Progress comes in two main types. The first is horizontal progress. This means taking something that already works and spreading it wider. It's going from 1 to n, making more of the same. Think of it like globalization. Take a good idea from one place and copy it everywhere else. We see this all the time. Factories in one country start making phones or clothes, and soon the same happens in many others. It's easy to picture because we've seen it happen over and over. The second type is vertical progress. This is much more exciting. It's going from 0 to 1. That means creating something completely new that didn't exist before. It's doing things no one has done. We call this technology, but not just gadgets. Technology is any new and better way of doing something. If you have typewriters and then invent computers, that's vertical progress. If you improve a car engine a little, that's horizontal. But inventing electric cars or something even newer, That's 0 to 1. Horizontal progress is straightforward and comfortable. We know what it looks like. Vertical progress feels harder because it's unknown. No one has a map for it. Yet it's the kind that truly changes lives and builds amazing value. Many people today think the future will come mostly from globalization, spreading existing ideas around the world. Countries copy successful models. Economies grow by doing more of what's already working. That's powerful, and we've seen huge results from it. But here's a different view. Technology will matter even more than globalization for shaping what's next. Copying gets us far, but only creating new things pushes us into truly better territory. Without new technology, we risk staying stuck, even if everything spreads evenly. Think about history. In the 20th century, big leaps came from new inventions: electricity, airplanes, computers, the internet. Those were 0 to 1 moments. They didn't just add more, they created whole new possibilities. Today, we still enjoy the fruits of those breakthroughs, but fewer bold new ones seem to appear. We improve phones, apps, and services, but often it's refining what's already there rather than inventing the next big category. Why does this matter for starting something new? Because the biggest opportunities come from vertical progress. Building something fresh gives you a real edge. When you go from 0 to 1, you're not fighting for scraps in a crowded space. You're making the space itself. People sometimes talk about first mover advantage, being the first in a market. But being first isn't enough if someone better comes along later. What really wins is being the last mover, creating the best version that dominates for years, maybe decades. You start small, own a tiny niche completely, then grow from there with your bigger vision. Monopoly profits from a unique creation let you keep building without constant fights. Optimism about the future comes in different flavors too. Some people are indefinite optimists. They believe things will get better somehow, without a clear plan. Others are definite optimists. They plan and build toward a specific better future. In the past, definite optimism drove huge projects like moon landings or massive infrastructure. Today, many lean indefinite, hoping markets or trends fix things without bold direction. But startups flip that. A startup is simply the largest group of people you can convince to work on a plan for a different future. It's not random hope, it's focused effort on something new. You gather smart people around an idea others don't yet see, and you push to make it real. Creating from 0 to 1 isn't easy. It requires seeing secrets, truths hidden in plain sight that most overlook. It takes courage to act on them when others disagree. But that's where real breakthroughs live. The world doesn't improve by accident. It improves when people decide to build something new and better. As we go through these notes, keep this in mind. Every big change starts with vertical progress. Copying helps, but creating defines the future. The challenge is clear. Will we settle for more of the same? Or will we find ways to go from 0 to 1? The future isn't something that just happens to us. It's something we can shape. And the best way to shape it is by building companies that invent, not imitate. That's the heart of what we're exploring here. Chapter 2. Party like it's 1999. Think back to the late 1990s. The internet felt like magic. People talked about a new economy, where old rules didn't apply. Companies with no profits raised billions of dollars just by adding .com to their name. Pets.com spent a fortune on Super Bowl ads featuring a talking sock puppet. People bought shares in anything online, thinking prices would keep rising forever. Then March 2000 came. The Nasdaq crashed. Billions vanished. Many startups shut down. The media called it a bubble, and the lesson seemed simple: internet hype kills. But that story misses something important. While most .com companies disappeared, a handful survived and became enormous. Amazon started selling books online in 1995. It lost money year after year but kept growing its customer base and selection. After the crash, it kept building warehouses and improving delivery. Today, it's one of the most valuable companies ever. Google launched in 1998, with a better way to search the web. It stayed focused through the downturn and eventually dominated. PayPal, also born in that era, figured out safe online payments and grew fast. So what made the difference? Why did some fail spectacularly while others built lasting empires? The key insight is this: competition is for losers. Most people think success in business means beating everyone else at the same game. They watch competitors closely, match their features, undercut their prices, and fight for every customer. That path leads to trouble. In a world of perfect competition, where everyone sells basically the same thing, profits get squeezed to almost nothing. Restaurants in a busy street compete fiercely on price and location. Margins stay thin. No one gets rich easily. Real value and big profits come from monopoly. A monopoly isn't always bad. When a business creates something so unique that no one else offers a close substitute, it gains power. It can charge fair but higher prices, keep more earnings, invest in research, treat employees well, and plan decades ahead. Google doesn't face real rivals in general search. That lets it earn huge profits. Apple built an ecosystem around iPhones that's hard to leave. Those companies aren't monopolies because they're greedy. They earned it by offering something dramatically better. Society often treats monopoly as negative. Textbooks warn about monopolies raising prices and hurting consumers. Governments break them up. But in startups, the best monopolies come from progress. They don't raise prices by hurting others. They lower costs or create value no one else can match. A new drug that cures a disease can charge a lot because it's worth far more than the alternative, which is nothing. The company profits, but patients win big too. The dot-com failures mostly competed directly. Hundreds of sites tried to be the top online pet store, fashion retailer, or portal. They copied each other, ran expensive ads to steal users, and burned cash in price wars. When funding dried up, they collapsed. The winners escaped competition. Amazon didn't aim to be the cheapest bookstore forever. It aimed to be Earth's biggest selection with fast shipping. It built advantages others couldn't match quickly. eBay created a two-sided marketplace where buyers and sellers needed each other. The more people joined, the harder it became to leave. To build a monopoly, start small and strong. Don't try to capture the entire market on day one. Find a tiny group of users who really need what you're making. Dominate that small market completely. Then expand. Facebook didn't launch as a global network. It began at Harvard in 2004. Students loved the exclusivity and real name policy. It spread to other colleges, then high schools, then everyone. By expanding carefully, it locked in loyalty step by step. Another path is breakthrough technology. Make something 10 times better than existing options. Small improvements don't convince people to switch. But a 10x leap does. The original iPhone in 2007 wasn't the first touchscreen phone. But its design, apps, and feel were so superior that it redefined the category. Proprietary tech helps protect your edge. Patents, trade secrets, or complex engineering create barriers. But technology alone fades over time. Network effects last longer. Facebook grows more valuable as friends join. Each new user brings their connections. Marketplaces like Airbnb or Uber work the same way. The more hosts and riders, the better it gets for everyone. Scale brings advantages too. Larger companies negotiate better deals, spread fixed costs over more sales, and improve faster. Brand loyalty seals it. People pay extra for trusted names like Tesla or Rolex because they stand for something special. The clearest sign of monopoly power is pricing freedom. If you can raise prices without losing many customers, you're not in cutthroat competition. Monopolies also often look quiet. They don't brag about destroying rivals because they don't have to fight them daily. Many entrepreneurs chase disruption. They attack big industries head-on, hoping to steal share. That rarely builds lasting value. True innovation often creates new markets, or redefines old ones without direct battles. Instead of competing to be better, Compete to be different. Ask any startup founder, what important problem are you solving that others overlook? Most answers involve beating someone else. Better answers reveal untapped value. The future's biggest companies will solve problems we barely notice today. The dot-com crash didn't kill the internet. It cleared away weak players. The strong ones kept building quietly. Today we see similar excitement around AI, renewable energy, biotech, and space. Some ideas will flop, but the ones that create unique, hard-to-copy value will build true monopolies. Building from 0 to 1 means avoiding the crowd. Don't join the party where everyone's fighting for scraps. Create your own party, one where you're the only guest who matters. Focus on secrets others miss. Build defensively. Grow thoughtfully. Lasting success doesn't come from winning every battle. It comes from making battles irrelevant. That's the real lesson from 1999. The bubble wasn't the internet itself. It was the rush to copy obvious ideas. The winners weren't the flashiest. They were the ones who built something genuinely new and protected it long enough to dominate. When you escape competition, freedom opens up. You can take long-term risks. Hire brilliant people. Care about quality over speed. Plan for decades, not quarters. That's how progress really happens, not through endless fights, but through creation that stands alone. Chapter 3. All happy companies are different. Let's flip a famous line from a classic novel. In stories about families, happy ones often look similar: stable, loving, supportive. Unhappy families each have their own unique troubles. Business works the opposite way. All happy companies are different. Each one finds its own path to success by solving a special problem in a way no one else does. All failed companies? They're pretty much the same. They got stuck in fierce competition and couldn't break free. This idea changes how we think about starting something new. The big question for any entrepreneur isn't just, how do I build a great product? It's, what valuable company is nobody building? Valuable doesn't mean just creating tons of good stuff for the world. It means creating value and actually keeping some of it as profit. You can make the world better without making money for yourself, but a strong company needs both. Take airlines as an example. Flying has transformed travel. It connects people across the planet, creates jobs, and shrinks the world. The industry creates huge value. Yet most airlines struggle to make consistent profits. Why? Because they compete so hard. Routes overlap, planes look similar, tickets get priced almost the same. When one airline cuts fares, others follow. Fuel costs rise, and everyone feels the pinch. Profits get washed away in the fight to stay alive. The whole sector creates value, but captures very little of it. Now compare that to Google. Search is important, but does Google create as much total value as airlines? Probably not in raw terms: fewer jobs, less physical infrastructure. But Google keeps almost all the value it creates. Its profit margins are massive. Why? Because in general web search, Google has no close rival. People use it because it's the best, fastest, and most accurate. Advertisers pay top dollar to reach those users. Google captures the value so well that its market value exceeds the combined worth of every major US airline. Economists have names for these two worlds. One is perfect competition. In perfect competition, many sellers offer nearly identical products. No one has special power. Prices get driven down to the bare minimum needed to cover costs. In the long run, profits approach zero. Everyone works hard, but no one gets ahead much. It's fair in a way, but it's tough on businesses. The other is monopoly. A monopoly, or at least a strong, durable advantage, means one seller offers something others can't match easily. They can set prices higher because customers choose them anyway. Profits stay healthy. That money funds growth, innovation, better pay for workers, and long-term planning. People often see monopoly as bad. Big companies charging high prices, limiting choices, hurting consumers. In school and in the news, we hear warnings about monopolies. But there's a key difference. Bad monopolies hurt everyone by blocking progress. Think of old utilities that got lazy because no one could compete. Good monopolies in startups come from progress. They make something so much better or cheaper or easier that the world wins. Customers get huge benefits, and the company gets rewarded with profits to keep improving. Google isn't a monopoly because it tricks people or blocks rivals unfairly. It's dominant because its search engine works better. It invested in algorithms, data centers, and speed that others couldn't copy quickly. That creates a virtuous cycle. More users mean more data to improve search, which attracts more users. The same pattern shows up elsewhere. Microsoft dominated operating systems for PCs for decades. Apple built an ecosystem around hardware and software that's hard to leave. These companies look different because their advantages are unique. One solved search. Another solved personal computing. Another solved mobile experience. They didn't win by copying. They won by being different in ways that mattered. Failed companies share the same story. They couldn't escape competition. They built something similar to what already existed. They fought for the same customers with the same tools. Prices dropped. Marketing costs rose. Cash burned fast. When the market turned or funding slowed, they couldn't survive. So how do you build a happy company? One that's different and profitable. Start by escaping the trap of perfect competition. Don't aim to be slightly better than everyone else in a crowded field. Aim to be the only one offering something truly valuable. One way is through technology that's hard to replicate. Build something 10 times better, not 10% better. Small edges get copied fast. Big leaps create distance. Another way is branding that stands for something special. People pay more for trust and identity. Network effects lock in users. The more people join, the better it gets. Economies of scale help too. Bigger size means lower costs per unit. But the core is solving a unique problem. Ask yourself, what does the world need that no one's providing well? What secret do you see that others miss? The best companies answer that question in ways that feel obvious in hindsight, but invisible at first. Think about it like this. In perfect competition, you're a commodity. Your product is interchangeable. In monopoly, you're irreplaceable. Customers choose you not because you're the cheapest, but because nothing else comes close. This doesn't mean ignoring customers or charging unfair prices. The best monopolies deliver massive value. They charge what the product is worth, which is often far more than the cost to make it. That gap is the profit that fuels the next breakthrough. Airlines show what happens when value creation doesn't lead to value capture. Everyone flies, but few airlines thrive long-term. Tech companies like Google show the opposite. They capture so much that they can fund moonshot projects, hire top talent, and keep pushing boundaries. For anyone starting out, this flips the usual advice. Don't worry about being number one in a big market right away. Worry about being the only one in a small, important niche. Own that completely. Then expand. The profits from monopoly let you take risks others can't. Competition feels safe because it's familiar. Everyone does it. But it often leads to average results. Monopoly feels risky because it's lonely at first. Yet that's where real rewards live. The contrarian question comes back. What valuable company is nobody building? If your answer involves beating the competition at their game, rethink it. The winners don't play someone else's game. They create a new one. Happy companies look different because their path to monopoly is unique. They solve problems in fresh ways. They capture value by being irreplaceable. Failed ones blend in, fight hard, and fade away. Building from 0 to 1 means aiming for that difference. Not just more of the same, but something new that stands alone. That's how you create a company that's not just surviving, but truly happy, profitable, innovative, and built to last. Chapter 4. The Ideology of Competition. We've talked about how competition drains profits, and how the best companies escape it by becoming monopolies through real innovation. But why do so many smart people still chase competition? Why does everyone seem to think fighting rivals is the normal, even healthy way to do business? The answer lies in something deeper. Competition has become an ideology. It's a belief system that people accept without questioning, even when the facts show it's often destructive. From a young age, we are taught to compete. In school, we get graded on curves. Your success depends on doing better than others. Sports reward winners who beat their opponents. Even dating can feel like a contest for the best partner. Society celebrates rivalry because it pushes people to work harder and achieve more. We hear phrases like healthy competition drives progress. In business, this mindset carries over. Entrepreneurs talk about crushing the competition, gaining market share, and out-executing rivals. Business schools study war strategies from books like The Art of War, and people use military terms. Headhunters recruit talent, companies launch campaigns, markets get captured, profits get killed. But here's the twist. War destroys value. In real war, both sides lose lives, resources, and futures. In business, intense competition does something similar. It destroys profits for everyone involved. When companies fight tooth and nail, they spend huge amounts on advertising to steal customers, cut prices to undercut each other, and match features so no one stands out. Margins shrink. Innovation slows because energy goes into copying instead of creating. Everyone ends up exhausted, with little left to show for it. Look at the restaurant industry. Cities have thousands of eateries. They all serve food, often similar dishes. Owners compete fiercely on location, price, and small differences like faster service or trendier decor. Most restaurants make slim profits or lose money. A few stand out with something truly unique, a special cuisine, atmosphere, or story, and they thrive. But the majority fight over the same customers and barely survive. Competition keeps them average. Now contrast that with creative monopolies. These companies build something new that others can't easily copy. They benefit society by offering better solutions, while earning strong profits to keep improving. Google revolutionized search and advertising. It didn't just compete with Yahoo or AltaVista. It created a far superior product. That monopoly position lets Google invest in maps, email, phones, and more without constant price wars. Why do we cling to the competition ideology even when it hurts? One reason is that competition feels fair. In perfect competition, no one has unfair advantages. Everyone starts on equal footing, and the best wins. Monopoly feels unfair because one company dominates. We worry about high prices or less choice. But in startups, the monopolies that last come from progress, not exploitation. They charge what the innovation is worth, which is often much more than old options, so customers win too. Another reason is mimicry. People see others competing and assume it's the way things work. In school, everyone studies the same subjects to get good grades. In careers, people chase the same prestigious jobs. In startups, founders copy hot trends, another ride-sharing app, another food delivery service. They think, if others are doing it, there must be money there. But by the time you enter, the space is crowded, and profits vanish. There's also a deeper psychological pull. Competition gives clear goals and feedback. Beating someone feels good. It provides motivation and a sense of achievement. Building a monopoly feels lonelier. You pursue a vision others don't see yet. No immediate rivals to measure against. It takes faith in your own ideas. But the costs are high. When Microsoft and Google obsessed over each other in the 2000s, fighting in browsers, maps, and email, Apple quietly built the iPhone and iOS ecosystem. While the two giants battled, Apple surged ahead in value. Today, Apple's worth exceeds Microsoft and Google combined at times. Obsession with rivals blinded them to bigger opportunities. The same happens in smaller ways. Think about payment companies after PayPal's success. Many tried to copy it directly. Square faced dozens of copycats offering similar card readers. Most faded because they fought over the same small improvements instead of creating something new. So how do you break free from this ideology? Start by questioning it. Ask, is competition really always good? In many cases, no. It can motivate in sports or simple markets, but in complex innovation, it often wastes resources. True progress comes from cooperation on big visions, not endless rivalry. Focus on creation over destruction. Instead of asking how to beat the other guy, ask what unique value you can add that no one else is. Build something people want so much they choose you even if you're not the cheapest. Recognize that monopolies aren't always bad. The harmful ones are stagnant ones that block progress. The good ones drive it forward. They earn profits precisely because they solve problems better. Society needs more creative monopolies, not more perfect competition. Perfect competition leads to zero economic profits in the long run. Everyone covers costs but nothing more. That might sound fair, but it starves innovation. Without profits, companies can't invest in the next big thing. The ideology of competition is so strong because it's everywhere. But entrepreneurs have the chance to see through it. They can choose a different path. Build monopolies by solving important problems in fresh ways. Escape the war. Create peace through dominance of a new category. When you stop competing and start creating, everything changes. You gain freedom to think long-term. You attract people who share your vision. You build something that lasts. Competition is the ideology of average results. Monopoly through innovation is the path to extraordinary ones. The world improves not when everyone fights harder for the same pie, but when someone bakes a bigger, better pie that didn't exist before. As you think about your own ideas, challenge the assumption that you need rivals to succeed. The greatest successes often come when there are no direct rivals at all, because you've invented a space of your own. That's the real shift. From fighting in crowded arenas to building new ones where you stand alone. Not because you're the best fighter, but because no one else is playing the same game. Chapter 5. Last Mover Advantage. We've seen how escaping competition lets you build a monopoly, and how those monopolies create real value by being different and innovative. But even a strong monopoly isn't enough if it doesn't last. A great company isn't just one that makes money today. It's one that keeps making money for years, maybe decades. The true measure of a business's worth is the total money it will bring in over its entire future, adjusted for time and risk. Most of that value often comes far down the road, sometimes 10 or 15 years later. Think about how investors look at companies. A traditional business like a newspaper might earn steady profits now. But if readers are moving to the internet, those profits shrink over time. The company's value drops because future cash looks weaker. On the other hand, a tech startup might lose money for years while building something huge. Yet investors pour in billions because they see explosive growth ahead. Twitter, now X, lost money in its early years. But when it went public, its value soared way above many profitable old media companies. Why? Because people believed its future profits would be massive. The lesson is clear. Don't chase short-term wins. Focus on building something durable that captures value for a long time. In chess, the player who makes the last move often wins. The same goes for business. Being the first mover sounds exciting, getting there before anyone else, but it's usually better to be the last mover. That means creating the final, best version of something. Make your product or service so good that no one can improve on it meaningfully. Once you're the last mover, competition fades because you've defined the category. Being first doesn't guarantee success. Many pioneers get overtaken. The first search engine wasn't Google. The first social network wasn't Facebook. The first smartphone wasn't the iPhone. Those early players helped prove the idea, but the ones who came later and did it dramatically better captured most of the value. They learned from others' mistakes, improved the technology, and built stronger defenses. So how do you become that last mover? Build a monopoly with lasting power. There are 4 main ways to make your advantage durable. First, proprietary technology. This means something so advanced or unique that others can't copy it easily. It should be at least 10 times better than what's out there. Small improvements get matched quickly, but a 10x leap creates real distance. Think of how Google's search algorithm was far superior at first, or how Tesla's battery tech and software give it an edge in electric cars. Second, network effects. The product gets better as more people use it. Social networks are classic examples. Facebook became more valuable with every new friend who joined. Marketplaces like eBay or Airbnb work the same way. More buyers attract more sellers, and more sellers attract more buyers. Once the network grows big, it's hard for newcomers to break in because they start with 0 users. Third, economies of scale. As you grow, costs per user or per sale drop. Software companies are great at this. Once the code is written, adding millions of users costs almost nothing. Amazon uses its huge scale to negotiate better deals with suppliers and build massive warehouses that smaller players can't match. Fourth, branding. A strong brand becomes part of people's identity. Apple isn't just selling phones, it's selling design, simplicity, and status. People pay extra because the brand means something special. Strong brands create loyalty that's tough to break. The best monopolies combine several of these. Google has proprietary tech in search, massive scale, network effects from data, and a brand that's synonymous with finding information. To become the last mover, start small but aim big. Don't try to take over the whole world at once. Pick a tiny market where you can dominate completely. Solve the problem so well that customers love you and stick around. Then expand gradually into bigger markets. PayPal started with payments for eBay power sellers, a small niche, before growing into everyday online payments. Facebook began only at Harvard, then spread to other schools, locking in users step by step. This approach seems counterintuitive. Everyone talks about being first, disrupting industries, moving fast. But rushing in often leads to fights with copycats. Better to enter thoughtfully, build something unbeatable, and make sure no one wants or needs to replace you. Durability also means thinking long-term. Many startups focus on quick growth and exits. They burn cash for hype, hoping to sell or go public fast. That can work sometimes, but the really valuable companies plan for decades. They invest in research, hire great people, and avoid short-term traps that weaken their position. Look at history. Microsoft dominated personal computers for years because Windows became the standard. No one could easily switch. That longevity created huge wealth. Amazon started with books, but built infrastructure to dominate retail and cloud computing. Its early losses funded warehouses and tech that paid off massively later. The opposite happens when companies don't build for the future. Blockbuster had stores and profits but ignored streaming. Netflix started small, focused on mail-order DVDs, then pivoted to streaming and originals. Netflix became the last mover in video entertainment by making content so good and accessible that traditional TV struggles to compete. Being the last mover isn't about luck, it's about design. Ask yourself, what will make my company hard to displace in 10 or 20 years? Will proprietary tech evolve? Will network effects strengthen? Will scale keep growing? Will the brand stay strong? If the answers are yes, you're on the path to real monopoly power. If not, even a head start won't last. The future belongs to companies that endure. Short-term victories feel good, but lasting ones change the world. By aiming to be the last mover, you don't just win a market, you define it for generations. Every big success story shows this pattern. Start with a clear vision of long-term dominance, build defensively, and deliver value that compounds over time. That's how you go from 0 to 1 and stay there. Chapter 6. You are not a lottery ticket. Most people live with two opposite beliefs about the future. On one hand, they feel life is mostly random. Success comes down to luck, timing, or things outside their control. On the other hand, they believe hard work and smart choices can shape what happens next. These two ideas clash, but both get accepted without much thought. The truth sits somewhere in between, and how you think about it changes everything when you try to build something new. Consider the way people talk about startups. You hear stories of overnight successes. Someone launches an app, it goes viral, and suddenly they're a billionaire. The media loves these tales because they're exciting. They make entrepreneurship sound like a lottery. Buy a ticket by starting a company, and maybe you'll win big. If it doesn't work, well, you were unlucky. This view is comforting. It explains why so many fail without blaming anyone. It also excuses inaction. Why risk everything if the odds are tiny? But look closer at the winners. The people who built the biggest companies didn't treat their lives like lottery tickets. They believed the future could be shaped through definite plans and focused effort. They saw secrets, truths about the world that others overlooked, and acted on them with conviction. Bill Gates didn't stumble into Microsoft by chance. He saw that software would become more valuable than hardware, and bet everything on building the best operating system. Jeff Bezos didn't randomly pick books for Amazon. He chose an industry with huge potential for online sales, low shipping costs, and endless selection, then executed relentlessly. The opposite mindset is indefinite optimism. This is the belief that things will get better somehow, without anyone needing a specific plan. It's common today. People invest in index funds because markets go up over time. They pick careers based on prestige or salary averages. Governments run huge deficits hoping growth will fix debt. In indefinite optimism, you don't commit to one clear path. You stay flexible, hedge your bets, and hope the general trend lifts you. Indefinite optimism feels safe. You avoid big risks by not choosing too strongly. But it rarely produces breakthroughs. When everyone expects progress without direction, little gets built. Big projects stall. Innovation slows because no one takes responsibility for making the future happen. Definite optimism is different. It's the belief that you can plan and build a specific better future. In the 1950s and 1960s, this mindset drove huge achievements. Engineers sent people to the moon. Cities built massive highways and bridges. Companies invested in research labs that created transistors, lasers, and early computers. People believed bold plans could change the world, and they did. Then something shifted. By the 1970s, faith in big, directed progress faded. Environmental worries, oil shocks, and failed projects made people skeptical of grand visions. Indefinite optimism took over. We stopped planning moonshots and started tweaking what already existed. We improved efficiency instead of inventing new categories. Today, many see the future as something that unfolds on its own, through markets, trends, or chance, rather than something we design. Startups stand against this. Every great startup is a definite vision in action. The founder says, "This is how the world should work, and I'm going to make it happen." Airbnb didn't hope sharing economy trends would lift them. They built a platform that solved a real pain, expensive hotels and empty homes, and pushed it forward with clear focus. SpaceX didn't wait for space travel to get cheaper naturally. Elon Musk set a definite goal: make humanity multiplanetary, and engineered the rockets to do it. This definite mindset requires courage. You're betting on a specific outcome when most people hedge. You're saying no to thousands of other paths to say yes to one. That feels risky, especially when others call your idea crazy or impossible. But uncertainty isn't the same as luck. When you pursue a definite plan, you reduce unknowns through research, iteration, and persistence. You turn a wild guess into a calculated bet. The lottery ticket view kills progress in two ways. First, it leads people to spread themselves thin, trying many small things instead of committing to one big one. Second, it makes failure feel inevitable. If success is mostly luck, why pour your life into something hard? Better to play it safe, keep options open, and hope something good happens. Definite founders do the opposite. They narrow their focus. They accept short-term discomfort for long-term payoff. They treat their company like a mission, not a gamble. Even when things go wrong, and they will, They adjust the plan without abandoning the vision. There's a practical side too. Investors prefer definite plans. Vague pitches about disrupting an industry or being the Uber of X get ignored. Clear visions. Here's the problem. Here's our unique solution. Here's how we'll own this market. Get funded. People want to back builders who know where they're going. Society needs more definite optimism. We face huge challenges. Clean energy, disease, education, space exploration. These won't solve themselves through indefinite hope. They need focused teams with bold, specific plans. Startups are the best vehicle for that because they're small enough to move fast and big enough to scale impact. You are not a lottery ticket. Your life and your work can be directed towards something meaningful. The future isn't random if enough people decide to shape it. When you start something new, choose definite optimism. Pick a hard problem. Form a clear plan. Commit fully. Build step by step toward a future only you can see clearly. That choice separates the builders from the gamblers. The builders don't win because they're lucky. They win because they refuse to leave the future to chance. Chapter 7. Follow the money. Money tells a story that many people miss. In the world of startups, where things grow fast or disappear quickly, the way money moves reveals a hidden pattern. It's not spread out evenly like most people think. Instead, it follows what's called the power law. A few things create most of the results, while everything else adds up to very little. This idea comes from an old observation by an Italian economist named Vilfredo Pareto. Back in the early 1900s, he noticed that 20% of the people in Italy owned 80% of the land. He looked around and saw the same pattern in many places. A small number of cities hold most of the population. A handful of companies make most of the profits in an industry, and so on. We call this the 80-20th rule. But in extreme cases like startups, it's even sharper. The top performer can be worth more than everything else combined. Venture capital shows this power law clearly. Venture capitalists invest in early-stage companies, hoping some will grow huge. They know most will fail. Some will do okay but not great. But a tiny few explode in value, growing so much that they make up for all the losses and more. In a good fund, the single best investment often returns as much as or more than every other investment put together. Think about it. If a fund puts money into 20 or 30 companies, the typical spread isn't even. Most might return nothing or just break even. A few might give 2x or 5x the money back. But one or two could return 100x or 1000x. That one big winner carries the whole fund. The biggest secret in venture capital isn't some clever trick. It's that success follows this extreme pattern. If you don't have at least one company that could return the entire fund's value, you're probably not going to make money overall. This isn't just about investors. Founders need to understand it too. If you're starting a company, aim for something that has this kind of potential. Don't build something that can only be mildly successful. Build something that could dominate its space and grow massively. Because in the startup world, average doesn't cut it. The power law means the middle ground often leads nowhere. Look at examples from the past. In the dot-com era, thousands of companies got funded. Most went to zero. A handful, like Amazon, eBay, and Google, became worth billions and changed everything. The returns from those few made up for countless failures. The same thing happened in clean energy a decade later. Hundreds of startups raised money for solar panels, batteries, and biofuels. Almost all of them struggled or failed. The winners were rare, and even then, the payoffs weren't as huge as in software or internet companies. Why does this happen? Because startups aren't like traditional businesses. In a normal company, growth is steady and predictable. Profits come from doing more of the same. In startups, especially tech ones, growth can be exponential. A product that solves a real problem can spread quickly, improve with more users, and capture a huge market before others catch up. That creates outsized returns. But it also means most attempts don't hit the mark. For investors, The power law changes how they think about risk. Many try to spread their bets widely, like diversifying in stocks. They think if they back enough companies, the averages will work out. But averages don't apply here. The distribution isn't normal. It's skewed heavily to the right. Spreading too thin means you might miss the one big winner entirely. Better to concentrate on the companies with true breakthrough potential, even if it feels risky. Founders face a similar choice. You could build a nice, small business that makes steady money. Or you could chase something bigger, something that could go from 0 to 1 and capture massive value. The small path might feel safer, but in a power law world, it often leads to mediocrity. The big path has more failures around it, but the upside is life-changing. This pattern shows up beyond money too. In careers, a few people achieve outsized success. In science, a handful of discoveries change everything. Nature itself follows power laws. Think of earthquakes, where small ones happen often, but rare big ones do most of the damage. The world rewards extremes. So what does this mean for someone starting out? First, be honest about your idea. Ask, could this become so valuable that it returns 100x or more to early backers? If not, maybe rethink it. Second, don't fear concentration. Whether you're investing time, money, or effort, put it where the potential is highest. Diversifying too much dilutes your shot at the big win. Third, understand that failure is part of the game. Most startups don't make it. But that's okay if the few that do succeed massively. The power law forgives many misses as long as the hits are huge. Finally, align your goals with this reality. If you're building a company, design it for exponential growth. Solve a problem that's big enough, build defensively, and aim to own the future in your space. Investors will follow the money, and the money follows the companies that can change the game. The power law isn't fair in the usual sense. It rewards the exceptional and ignores the rest. But it's how progress happens. A few breakthroughs lift everyone. When you follow the money, you see that the path to real impact isn't through balance. It's through bold bets on the extraordinary. Embrace that. Build something that could be one of those rare winners. Because in a power law world, being average is the real risk. Chapter 8. Secrets. Every great company starts with a secret. Not the kind you whisper behind closed doors, but a truth about the world that most people either don't see or refuse to believe. When you discover one of these secrets and build a business around it, you create something valuable that others can't easily copy. The bigger the secret, the bigger the opportunity. People used to think the world was full of secrets waiting to be found. Explorers sailed across oceans looking for new lands. Scientists searched for hidden laws of nature. Inventors chased breakthroughs in electricity, flight, and computing. That mindset drove progress. But somewhere along the way, society shifted. Today, many believe everything worth knowing is already known. Schools teach established facts. News cycles repeat familiar debates. The feeling is that the frontier is closed. There are no more big secrets left. Yet secrets still exist. They hide in plain sight. Some are hard to see because they're unconventional or uncomfortable. Others are ignored because they contradict what everyone knows. The best secrets feel obvious once you spot them, but invisible before that moment. Finding one requires looking where others aren't looking, questioning common assumptions, and being willing to be wrong for a while. There are two main kinds of secrets. The first are secrets of nature, things we haven't figured out yet about the physical world. We still don't have perfect clean energy, cures for most diseases, or practical ways to live on other planets. These are hard problems, but they're out there. The second kind are secrets about people, truths about what society wants, needs, or could want if someone showed it to them. These are often easier to spot because they live in everyday life, hidden by convention or habit. Consider Airbnb. In 2008, the founders noticed something strange. Hotels were expensive and often fully booked in big cities, yet millions of homes sat empty with spare rooms. Conventional wisdom said strangers wouldn't trust each other enough to stay in someone's home. But the founders saw a different truth. People were already sharing couches on travel forums, and with the right platform, photos, reviews, payments, trust could scale. That secret turned into a company worth billions. Or take Uber. Everyone complained about taxis being hard to find, expensive, and unreliable. The common view was that regulating cabs was necessary for safety. But the founders saw a secret. Smartphones had GPS, maps, and payment systems that could make ride-hailing instant and safe without traditional medallions. Most people dismissed the idea as impossible. The secret was that technology had quietly made an old problem solvable in a new way. Secrets don't have to be world-changing at first glance. Sometimes they're small and local. A restaurant owner might notice that people in a neighborhood crave authentic food from a specific culture, but no one serves it well. A software developer might see that small businesses struggle with a certain task that big companies solve easily, but no simple tool exists for them. These micro-secrets can grow into big businesses when you execute well. The hardest part isn't finding the secret, it's believing in it when almost no one else does. Contrarian thinking feels lonely. If your idea agrees with what everyone says, it's probably not a secret. Real secrets make people uncomfortable or skeptical. They'll say, "That's impossible," or "No one wants that," or "Someone would have done it already." Your job is to keep going anyway, because the disagreement is often the signal that you're onto something. Why do secrets stay hidden? 4 big reasons. First, people believe the world is already well explored. They think all the good ideas have been taken. This mindset stops them from looking. Second, secrets often contradict social convention. Going against the crowd feels risky. Most prefer to fit in than stand out with an unpopular view. Third, education trains us to find answers that already exist, not to question fundamentals. We get rewarded for agreeing with established knowledge. Fourth, incremental thinking dominates. People improve what's already there instead of asking if something entirely new is possible. They optimize instead of invent. To find secrets, start by asking better questions. What important truth do very few people agree with you on? Look at industries where people complain a lot, but accept the problems as normal. Ask why things are done the way they are. Challenge every assumption. Look at fringe ideas or overlooked technologies. Study places or groups where behavior differs from the mainstream. Sometimes they reveal truths others miss. Once you think you've found a secret, test it carefully. Build a small version. Talk to potential users. See if the idea excites a small group deeply. If it does, you might be right. If not, adjust or keep searching. The payoff for acting on a secret is huge. When you build something based on a truth others don't see, you escape competition. You create a monopoly from day one. Customers flock to you because you're offering something genuinely better or new. Profits follow because no one else can match what you've built. But acting on secrets takes courage. It means betting your time, money, and reputation on something uncertain. Most people won't. They'll stick to safe, conventional paths. That's why the rewards go to the few who do. The world still has plenty of secrets. Some wait in science labs. Others hide in daily frustrations. Some sit in plain view, waiting for someone brave enough to name them. Progress doesn't happen by accident or by following the crowd. It happens when individuals spot a secret, believe in it, and build the future around it. If you're starting something new, don't look for the next trendy idea. Look for the next secret. The companies that change the world aren't the ones that copy best. They're the ones that see what others miss. Your secret might be small at first. It might feel crazy to others. But if it's real, and you pursue it relentlessly, it can grow into something extraordinary. That's how 0 becomes 1, not by chance, but by seeing clearly what the rest of the world hasn't yet noticed. Chapter 9. Foundations. Great companies don't appear out of nowhere. They rest on foundations that look almost boring compared to the flashy product launches and viral growth stories you read about. But these quiet foundations decide whether a company will last 10 months or 10 decades. The most important foundations are people, timing, distribution, and the decision to actually build something rather than just talk about it. Start with the people. Every startup begins as a small group of human beings. In the very beginning, that group is usually 2 to 5 people who decide to spend years of their lives together on the same uncertain project. The quality of those early relationships matters more than almost anything else. When investors evaluate very early-stage companies, they spend surprisingly little time on the idea itself. They spend most of their attention on the founders. Are these people unusually determined? Do they get along under pressure? Do they see the world in roughly the same way? Can they recruit other excellent people to join them? The reason is simple. Ideas change constantly. Markets shift. Technology evolves. The original plan almost never survives contact with reality. What survives is the team's ability to adapt together. A team that trusts each other, communicates clearly, and keeps showing up even when everything feels hopeless, has a massive advantage over a group of brilliant loners who can't stand each other after 6 months. Look at almost every legendary tech company, and you'll see this pattern. The founders were not always the most technically gifted people in the room, but they were unusually committed to each other and to the mission. That commitment carried them through multiple near-death moments. So if you're starting something, ask yourself a hard question early. Would I happily spend another 10 years working closely with these exact people even if we never become rich? If the honest answer is no, fix the team before you fix the product. Next comes timing. Timing is the silent killer of most good ideas. Being too early is often worse than being too late. When you're too early, the market doesn't exist yet. Customers don't feel the pain strongly enough to pay money to solve it. Investors don't understand why the problem matters. Journalists don't write about it. You spend years educating the world, and then someone else arrives at exactly the right moment and captures most of the value. Being too late is painful too, but at least the demand is proven. You can usually find a way to carve out a niche or improve on what already exists. Being genuinely too early is close to impossible to survive unless you have truly unlimited money and patience. How do you know if the timing is right? Look for 3 signals. First, are there already a few people who desperately want what you're building, even if they're a small group? If the answer is yes, timing is probably workable. Second, has some recent change, new technology, new law, new behavior, falling cost of something, suddenly made your solution 10 times easier or cheaper than it was 5 years ago? Third, are big, established companies moving slowly or ignoring the space? That usually means the timing isn't quite ripe yet. When they suddenly start paying attention, the window is open, but it won't stay open forever. Good timing feels like you're riding a wave that has just started to form. You didn't create the wave, but you positioned yourself perfectly to surf it. Distribution is the third foundation, and the one most underestimated. It doesn't matter how good your product is if no one ever sees it or tries it. In the early days, distribution is usually more important than the product itself. A mediocre product with excellent distribution beats a spectacular product with no distribution almost every time. Distribution comes in many forms: personal networks, search engine optimization, viral loops, paid advertising, partnerships, app store placement, sales teams, content marketing, influencer outreach, platform leverage. The best founders are obsessive about figuring out how to get their product in front of the right people at a cost they can afford. A surprising number of legendary companies were distribution-first businesses that later built great products. Microsoft understood distribution through IBM and enterprise sales. Facebook grew through tight college networks. YouTube mastered search and related video recommendations. Amazon started with books because book buyers were already comfortable purchasing online and shipping was cheap. Each found a distribution channel that gave them an unfair advantage before the product was fully mature. If you can't clearly explain how the first 1,000 users will discover your product, You probably don't have a business yet, you have a science project. The final foundation is the simplest and hardest, the decision to build. Most people who dream about starting companies never actually do it. They wait for the perfect idea, the perfect co-founder, the perfect moment, the perfect funding round. That moment never arrives. The real founders are the ones who start building long before everything feels ready. They ship ugly first versions. They talk to 10 users a day, even when they're terrified of rejection. They make decisions when they have only 30% of the information they wish they had. Building is a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Every small thing you ship teaches you something. Every conversation with a real user rewrites your assumptions. Waiting for certainty is the same as waiting forever. The people who succeed are usually not the ones with the highest IQ or the most glamorous network. They're the ones who kept making things, kept talking to users, kept adjusting, and refused to quit when the reasonable thing would have been to stop. These 4 foundations, people you'd gladly spend a decade with, timing that's finally ripe, distribution that actually works, and relentless building, don't make success guaranteed. Nothing does. But without them, even the most brilliant idea stays on paper or in a prototype folder. If you're serious about going from 0 to 1, start auditing your own foundations today. Do you have at least one other person you trust completely to go through war with you? Is the wave you want to ride actually starting to rise right now? Have you already figured out, or are you urgently experimenting with, how the first real users will find you? And most important, what are you shipping this week? The foundations aren't glamorous. They're not the parts that make good Twitter threads or conference talks. But they are the parts that determine whether your company becomes one of the rare ones that lasts. Build the foundation first. Everything else rests on it. Chapter 10. The Founder's Paradox. Every great company looks like an impossible contradiction from the outside. The founder who builds something truly new has to live inside several paradoxes at once. They must be arrogant enough to believe they can change the world, yet humble enough to listen when reality tells them they're wrong. They must be obsessed with details while keeping their eyes fixed on a distant horizon. They must move extremely fast in some directions and extremely slowly in others. Understanding these contradictions doesn't make them disappear, it just helps you survive them long enough to reach the other side. The first and biggest paradox is this. The founder must believe something almost no one else believes, yet still be able to convince brilliant people to join the mission. If your idea is conventional, if it agrees with what everyone already thinks, then it's probably not a secret worth building on. Real breakthroughs start with a view that sounds wrong or crazy to most people. You have to be confident enough in that view to stake years of your life on it. At the same time, you have to recruit engineers, designers, salespeople, and operators who are smart enough to see through weak ideas. Those people will challenge you constantly. They will point out flaws you missed. They will ask hard questions. You have to be secure enough to hear criticism without crumbling, yet stubborn enough not to abandon the core vision the moment someone disagrees. The founders who succeed walk this tightrope. They are certain about the destination but flexible about the path. They defend the why ferociously while being open to changing the how. Steve Jobs was famous for both. He insisted the Macintosh had to feel like an insanely great computer that normal people would love. Yet he listened when the team told him certain technical shortcuts would kill the product. Elon Musk pushes impossible-seeming goals at SpaceX and Tesla. Yet he changes rocket designs and production methods dozens of times based on what the data shows. The second paradox is sales. Everyone says they hate sales. Founders especially like to say, "We are just building something people want. We don't need to sell." That's almost never true. Every company sells, whether they admit it or not. You sell your vision to investors. You sell your mission to early employees. You sell your product to the first users. You sell your story to the press and to future hires. Even the most product-focused founders are selling constantly. They're just selling different things to different people. The paradox is that the best founders are often personally bad at traditional sales. They can be awkward, introverted, or even abrasive. Yet they are world-class at conveying conviction. Their belief is so strong that other people catch it like a virus. That kind of authentic passion is more powerful than any polished pitch deck. The contradiction is that you must become comfortable selling without ever becoming a stereotypical salesperson. You sell by being relentlessly honest about the problem, the solution, and why this moment matters. The third paradox is risk. Starting a company is one of the riskiest things a person can do. Most startups fail. Even the ones that succeed usually come close to dying multiple times. Yet the founder who acts too afraid rarely gets far. You have to take big risks, quit your job, burn bridges, spend money you don't have, make enemies of powerful incumbents. At the same time, you have to be obsessive about avoiding unnecessary risks. Don't run out of cash. Don't hire people who will poison the culture. Don't build features no one wants. The art is in taking huge directional risks while ruthlessly minimizing execution risks. The fourth paradox is optimism and pessimism. You must be extremely optimistic about the long-term future you're building, optimistic enough to keep going when everything looks bleak. Yet you must be deeply pessimistic about the short term. Assume that everything that can go wrong will go wrong. Plan for disasters. Prepare for the worst-case scenario in fundraising, hiring, product launches, and competition. The founders who survive combine cosmic optimism, we can make humanity multiplanetary, with tactical pessimism. If we miss this payroll, we are dead. The final paradox is that the company must feel like a cult and like a family at the same time. Early on, the mission has to be so compelling that people feel almost religious about it. They work insane hours, defend the vision against skeptics, and talk about the company in almost spiritual terms. That intensity is necessary to create something from nothing. Yet the best long-term cultures also feel like families. People care about each other as humans, not just as co-workers. They forgive mistakes, celebrate personal milestones, and stick together through personal crises. The contradiction is that you need fanatical commitment and genuine human warmth in the same organization. Too much cult energy without warmth burns people out. Too much family feeling without fanaticism leads to complacency. These paradoxes don't get resolved. You live with them every day. The founder who tries to eliminate the tension usually fails. The ones who succeed learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable. They embrace the contradictions instead of running from them. If you're building something from 0 to 1, expect to feel pulled in opposite directions constantly. You'll feel arrogant and insecure in the same hour. You'll feel like a visionary and a fraud on the same day. That's not a sign you're doing it wrong. It's a sign you're doing something hard and real. The world doesn't need more safe, conventional companies. It needs more people willing to live inside these paradoxes long enough to create something genuinely new. The reward isn't just money or fame. It's the rare chance to see a piece of the future you imagined actually come into existence. Most people never try. They stay on the safe side of every contradiction. They choose certainty over possibility, comfort over creation. If you decide to cross over, if you decide to build, you will live with tension. You will doubt yourself. You will wonder if you're crazy. But every once in a while, when the impossible starts to feel inevitable, when the small team you assembled against all odds ships something the world has never seen before, when strangers start using your product in ways you only dreamed about, the paradoxes quiet down for a moment. In that moment you remember why you started. And you keep going. Because the future isn't a place you arrive at. It's a place you build. And the only way to build it is to embrace every contradiction along the way.